Now, hey, Karen.
This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze. You are special. And my guest today is Renaye Thornborrow. Did I say it right?
Thornborough.
Okay. Um, and I met Renaye through podmatch.com, and one of the things I saw in her bio was something that is so important to all of us, whether we're parents, whether we're neighbors, whether we're just in the community. Our children are struggling in today's world. Now, that's not to say that we didn't struggle when we were growing up. We didn't know we were struggling. We just thought that was the way of life. But today, kids are struggling. They're trying to be, at least what I used to hear from my son, well, mom, I have to be perfect. And I'd say, well, no, I never told you to be perfect. I'm not perfect. So how can I expect that of you? But he would say, no, I have to be perfect because if I'm not perfect, then I'm not going to have friends. And if I don't have friends, I'm not going to have a life. And it was just like this cloud would go over his head. And guess what? That was called mental health issues. And I had no idea of that. So when I read your bio, it was like, you're right. Why didn't we learn this when we were growing up?
Right.
And why isn't it part of the curriculum? Because it's so important for us to understand that history is important, is important, but if we don't feel important, none of that is going to make a difference. So give me a little background, Renaye. How did you get into all this?
Yes, sure, Karen. Thank you for having me on. It's such a critical topic, and like you said, our children really are struggling, and children's mental health was already an issue before the pandemic started, and since we've emerged, our children really are in crisis. In fact, our U.S. Surgeon General declares it as being um, our most serious health issue right now that we're facing as a nation is our children's mental health. And I got started in this, years ago. I discovered the world of personal development right out of college. And I remember thinking to myself, why didn't I learn this when I was a kid? It made no sense to me that the personal development world, what later became the life coaching world, really focused on grown-ups when those core thoughts and beliefs that shape who we are and what we think is possible for our lives is really formed when we were really young. And like you said, I mean, we weren't taught any of this when we were growing up. We didn't, we had to, get strong and just power through, right?
Right?
And mental health was just never talked about. In fact, and if it was talked about, it was kind of a taboo subject for sure. And I knew that from personal development, I became an expert in personal development over the years and used my skills to create a very successful corporate career, happy, fulfilling marriage and relationships. And when I had my children back in 2002, I had twins, a boy and a girl. I couldn't find anything out there to help me teach them about their mindset, how the power of their mind really shapes their experiences, but they had the opportunity to really, to shape their mind. And it's all about these tools. And the thing about mindset skills training, Karen, is it's really kind of common sense, but it's not common knowledge. And so what we're doing is really working to help it become more common knowledge amongst our children. And when I first started teaching my kids when they were little, and like I said, I couldn't find anything out there. And it's like, man, this is landing. And what I did was I started writing stories. And these stories were written in a fable format. And it was amazing to watch the aha moments because then they not only loved the stories, they really were learning these concepts behind the power of their mind. And from there, my vision just grew. And at the time, I had a very successful corporate career, and I just had this pull to do more. And I started Adventures in Wisdom, and I'm just absolutely amazed that here we are 30 years, or not 30 years later, 12 years later, we've got coaches in over 30 countries who are using this coaching curriculum and getting absolutely transformational results with children around the world.
So we all know that mental health is should not be a taboo subject.
Yeah.
We all sort of suffer from some sort of mental health issue. Um, about 13 years ago, I was in corporate America and things just weren't working right for me. Loved what I was doing. The culture was killing me. And I fell into a state of depression. And I initially just took some time off. And I was visiting my mother, who at the time was, I think, like 90, maybe 90 years old. And she says to my husband, I don't understand. What do you mean she's depressed? What does she have to be depressed about? And my husband, who still couldn't understand that word either, basically said, it's not for us to judge.
Mm.
If she says she's depressed, she's depressed.
Yeah.
And it took my mother a couple of years to finally come to grips with it because she saw my transformation. And I was pulling myself out of it. But I kept telling her I had to be careful because there were too many demons that were wanted to pull me back.
Yeah.
And she kept saying, I don't understand depression. However, in the last couple of months of her life, I was living with her and helping her out. And she talked to me about how she had been depressed a good portion of her life. And I said,
Wow.
wait a second, you told me I couldn't be. And she goes, you taught me what it really was.
So she
And
didn't
said,
recognize it in
no,
herself until she saw you going through it and you sharing
somebody
what
else.
your experience was. Wow. That's very powerful.
So here you are with your children. You're trying to teach them to be mindful, understand, be in the best mental health state as they can be. But again, the world is throwing all this negativity at you. So how do you teach children to separate that and parents as well?
And parents as well. You're absolutely right. It's really a family unit, and it's really important for children. And what we do, there's several different things that are really key. The first thing we do is we really help children understand how their mind works, understand the brain science behind their conscious mind, their subconscious mind, and how they form beliefs about the world, about themselves, and about what's possible for their lives. And these beliefs are things that they can shift and change and be able to mold based on what it is that they want to accomplish and based on what they want to achieve. We also teach them that whenever they're having certain thought patterns, that this is creating what's called neural pathways in their mind. So neural pathways are connections in your brain, help you understand how the world works. And so the more you repeat a certain thought pattern, the stronger that brain connection becomes and the stronger that thought pattern becomes. So what we're doing with children is we're helping them first understand this brain science. And second, we're teaching them about how they can identify and shift limiting beliefs, number one, and then proactively create those supporting beliefs that are going to help them navigate life, feeling great about themselves, going for it in life, and achieving their goals.
So what I'm hearing you say is as we're growing up, we hear certain things, we interpret them a certain way.
Yeah.
In fact, I always, refer to this that when I was growing up in elementary school, I didn't think I had friends. I didn't think people liked me. And my brain kept saying that to me over and over again. I went to an elementary school reunion, I think it was like 20 years after elementary school. And I wasn't expecting to be noticed or liked, but I walked in and it was like, oh, Karen, you're here. Oh, I haven't seen you in so. It was like, I
Yeah.
don't think these people like me.
Yeah.
And I remember sharing that with somebody, and she said, are you serious? That's how you felt? She said, I never would have known. But those were the thoughts that went through my head when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I held on to them into my 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until somebody helped me break through it
Yeah.
that I had to reconstruct it in my mind. Guess what? I remember that fun time. I remember her being my friend.
Yeah.
Whereas I had, for so many years, said, no, that didn't happen. So it is possible, but it's a lot of work to retrain our brains.
Yeah. Well, and what you're saying is so interesting, and what so many of our life coaches who started out coaching adults, why they wanted to become a life coach for kids. They saw these limiting beliefs that were formed in childhood that shaped their clients or had this negative impact on their clients for decades. And then just understanding what had happened and shifting negative beliefs into more supporting beliefs really supported them in moving forward in their lives. And I think all of us have some sort of story that we can tell. And it's one of the reasons why when I created this work, I mean, not only to help my own kids, but I wanted to reach children when they were young. elementary school, early middle school, so they can use these skills throughout high school, college, and into their adulthood, for the rest of their lives. And it really is fascinating because kids love learning about their brain,
Right.
and they do get this at a young age. And it's so important too at a young age because they haven't had so many years of programming and negativity that is shaping the way they view the world. And one of the skills that we teach children very early on is the power of positive self-talk, because self-talk is critical in how we see ourselves, which is our self-esteem, our belief in our ability to achieve something is our confidence, and to go for it in life and achieve our goals. And so that's one of the first things we talk with children about. We actually give a free coaching story away on our website to help parents start this conversation with their children, or if someone's interested in maybe becoming a coach, to see what our curriculum is like and how they can use stories to help children develop these skills. And by the way, what's so powerful is that when our coaches are using these skills with kids, it's helping them build their own confidence, self-esteem, and going for their own goals as well. It's just absolutely magical.
Well, and that's one of the things I've noticed since I've been podcasting for 13 years and been coaching is that I walk away from each podcast and I've learned one more thing I can put in my toolbox, one more thing that I can share with my clients, one more thing that, like today, I got a text message from my niece and I could tell that she was hurting. And I said, as your aunt, as your friend, as a coach, I'm going to acknowledge that you're hurting, but I know there's something positive out there for you too. So I'm not going to find it for you, but I'm going to encourage you to look for it because I know on my worst day, if somebody would just give me that hint, the sun is shining. It's 10 degrees warmer today. Your makeup looks good. Anything that can say, hey, it's a good day. And she texted me back and she goes, what a positive thought. And I said, if we keep talking positively, we will keep smiling. But we can't expect that to happen for 24/7. We understand
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And it's okay. Stuff happens in life that's not quite so fun, and we have to navigate that. But those events can either define us and take us down a path that's not healthy for us, or there's opportunity to build resilience, to develop compassion and empathy for other people who might be going through something similar, or just personal growth. It's just all part of our growth as a human being.
So, is there any way to take a curriculum like this and get it into the school systems? And I'm not saying that it has to be
Mhm.
fully taught, but
Right.
for I remember I had a teacher, a science teacher, who knew that I didn't like science for whatever reason. I just did poorly. And she kept reminding me that this wasn't my subject, that I was never going to do well in it. And I never did.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
when I went back to get my master's, I had to take a science class and I was dreading it. It was like,
Yeah.
why? I've taken science. Well, yeah, you took it in college, but you didn't do all that well, and you're going out for a master's. We need a better grade in it. I was doing it online, and all of a sudden, I'm reading, I'm researching, and I'm like, I understand this.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid. I
Right.
don't hate science. Hey, I've got an interest. We
Yep.
need we need that reinforcement when somebody is doing poorly to show them something that they can do well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And everything is learnable. It may not be your favorite thing in the world, but everything is learnable. And I think it's really important too to teach children about having that learning mindset of exactly that. Is like it may not be your most fun subject, but you can learn this. And if you approach life with an I can do it mindset, of I can learn this mindset, it enables kids to tackle anything that comes their way.
So you have twins, and twins, even when they are identical, they're not identical because they do think differently and they see the world differently.
So
How,
Karen, I happen to be an identical twin.
oh, really?
Yes,
Okay.
and her name is Karen.
I love it. I love it.
So that's my second name. If I hear Karen, I turn around. And you're
So,
right, we're very different people.
yeah. And we don't understand that on in society. We just always think that if you're twins, your siblings, you're from the same family, you should all have the same likes and dislikes. My mother used to say to me, "You love whitefish." And I said, "No, I don't." "Well, you do. I like whitefish." I said, "It sounds like a math problem, Mom." "No, I don't like whitefish, and I'm glad you do." And she finally started to understand as I got older that no, I didn't have to like all the things that she liked. If she
Yeah.
could introduce me to them and hope that I would share a commonality. But it's funny because I have two older brothers and we get along beautifully, but we are nothing alike,
Yeah.
nothing alike. And we all learn differently. So, how is it with your kids trying to get them on board with having an open mindset?
Yeah. So, I mean, with my children, this work, they're 22 years old now. They just graduated from college, so they're adults starting their lives. And, for us, for me, it's a lot of fun. It's part of this journey because I wrote this for them. I put this whole thing together for them. That was my initial motivation. And from there, my vision was growing. It's like, wow, how can I reach more children? So I turned it into a curriculum. And then it's like, okay, and it was a home study program for parents to use with their children. But then I had educators and life coaches for adults and people who are already working with kids and even counselors and therapists and social workers asked me if they could use my work in their work. And I thought, well, that's a great idea because I knew they could reach children I would never be able to reach. And so we shifted the company way back in 2013 to really focus on the certification program. And that's how we've grown it and have coaches in over 30 countries who are using our work with kids. And so for me, it was just a lot of fun. Just every time I wrote a story, my kids were the first ones to hear it. And when I first wrote the stories too, I had different main lead characters. And then so just a little bit back up or background about the curriculum is we teach 27 mindset skills to children. And each story uses a fable format to teach the skill. And there's a main character throughout all 27. His name is Wyatt the Wise Wizard. So he's really kind of like our partner in helping children understand these skills. And so when I first started writing these stories early on, I didn't have Wyatt the Wise Wizard. I had some different types of characters. And then I decided, oh, you know what? I'm going to pull this whole thing together and write this curriculum. And even now, at the age of 22, I'll hear from them that I liked this character better than Wyatt the Wise Wizard just for one story because that's what they were used to. But it was a lot of fun just having an opportunity to share with them and get their feedback. And we used the audio program a lot in the car, like if we would go driving to camp or whatever. That was the main way that we used the work. And they're 22 years old, and I'm just so proud of them and who they've become as people and everything they've accomplished or not accomplished and how they've handled all of that.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
My youngest son, at the age of 6, was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And part of his therapy was we're going to do social stories. And he absolutely hated it, just did not want to do it. It was like, don't treat me like a robot. I know what to do. But one day he was just like really out of control. And I sat down and I wrote this book. It's just for him. We've never, totally
Yeah.
shared it. It's called Andrew the Spider. And Andrew lived in his ear. And the whole concept behind it for me was he didn't want to listen to me telling him what to do, but Andrew could tell him, you need to calm down.
That's
And,
exactly why the curriculum is written in a story format. Yes.
and to this day, we still
Yeah.
talk about if he's having
Yeah.
a really tough day, he'll say, I just wish Andrew would tell me what to do right now.
Oh, that's sweet.
But then he'll tell me maybe the day later, I figured it out. and he doesn't come out and say, well, Andrew, help me figure it out. But it's almost like, yeah, I let that come back inside of me so
Yeah,
that I can figure these things out. And
absolutely.
I think it's important to parents to really listen to their children. And with my oldest son, I just wanted to be a mom. I wasn't listening. I was just doing all the things that I thought a mother should do. 15 years later, I have a second child, and it was totally different. And it was like, I want to correct what I thought were my mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I was more attentive to what he was going through, to what he was saying. And especially once he got diagnosed, it was like, I need to understand this. Now he's off on his own. He's an adult. You wouldn't know that he had the diagnosis, except for the times that when he says, I just can't control this right now. And it's like, okay. But he will go back to those stories, those things that he has heard in the past.
Yeah.
So
That's the power of story because it's not only your intellectual brain being engaged when you hear a story, it's your emotional aspects of your brain, your physiology as you're feeling and experiencing as well, and imagining what these characters are experiencing and how you would react to that. So because more of the brain is involved in hearing a story and learning, it creates stronger memories around both the story and the lessons from the story. Is just so powerful, not only for children, but for grown-ups as well. In fact, some of our coaches actually use our curriculum with teens and even their grown-up clients because it's so powerful. I mean, it opens the conversation.
I can imagine because I went through grief therapy, and in grief therapy, you write letters, and those were, as my coach said to me, "You're writing stories," and I said,
Yeah.
"That's just who I am." But it has helped me because now I can go back to them when I'm feeling those emotions and read through it and go, okay, yeah, this is what I can do. And I've used them also with my clients as well. We don't have to be going through typical grief, but we can be going through just a rough period. And I've encouraged them also, write it out. Tell yourself how you would like it to be. Because if you can start to picture it and talk about it, you can then start to create it. And
Absolutely.
I will tell you, I never would have believed this of myself many years ago because I always thought whatever I did is where I had to be. And the reality of it is that's not true. And that's what you're teaching young kids today, which is
Yeah.
phenomenal. So tell me a little bit about, you've got two books behind you. One is Life Coaching for Kids, and the other one is Adventures in Wisdom. So tell me about
Yes.
Adventures in Wisdom.
Absolutely. So Adventures in Wisdom is the name of the company. And really, our goal in life is to support children and seeing them, their magnificent selves, to learn how to navigate those ups and downs of growing up, proactively build their confidence and self-esteem, learn how to set and achieve their goals, be self-responsible self-leaders, whether it's with homework or helping around the house or making good decisions when they're with their peers or even by themselves, just so they can be confident and prepared to thrive in life. So what you see on this side, this is book one out of the curriculum. Now the curriculum is quite large. It's 27 skill books, and what we do, the way we teach is it's not just a story, not just a coaching story. We call it a skill book. And each of these skills has a mentor's guide. It's going to have the background information and coaching tips for the coach. And a children's guide, that's where you can have the coaching story, discussion questions, and fun activities. A lot of them are art projects or games and ways for children really experience these skills in a multi-sensory way and to bring these skills to life and really supporting children and applying these skills to their own lives. This one over here to the right, it's a brand new book. I actually wrote this one for parents, and it's called A Parent's Guide to Life Coaching for Kids, When to Add a Coach to Your Parenting Team. And it really is about supporting parents and understanding that life coaching for kids is a thing. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 12 years now, and I still have people saying, wow, I didn't know life coaching for kids was a thing. And those are their exact words. And it is a thing. And so what we do is we share with them what it is, how it benefits children, how it's different from counseling. That's one a really important thing for parents to understand, how coaches support them in their parenting and how our coaches actually work with children to get results.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, that coaching is so different from therapy. Um, I had somebody a couple days ago made some sort of comment to me, and they said, you know, you're just a lazy therapist. And I said, well, what does that mean? Well, you didn't go to school to become a therapist. That's why you're a coach. And I said, totally different. Okay. I don't care about what happened yesterday. What I care about is what I'm doing now and going forward. And yes, what happened yesterday does reflect on me, but I don't have to delve into all the bits and pieces. I have to decide, am I committed to take the step forward? And she looked at me and she goes, that's hogwash. And I said, well, I used to think so too. So welcome to my past, because if somebody would have told me I could wake up every day and say, yeah, my arthritis hurts, but the sun is shining, I never would have thought that. I would have thought, oh, I hurt. Oh, I want to go back to bed. No, I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. And that's when my day starts. Not everybody has that willpower, but we can help guide people to it. And that's what you're doing at an early age. And I love that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we share with parents about the mental health continuum, because if you look at mental health on a continuum, we have mental wellness on one side, mental illness on the other side. Our counselors and therapists really focus on more that mental illness side, supporting children who are in crisis or maybe who are really struggling and is impacting their day-to-day ability to function, to get back to a state of being able to function well in life. And yes, they can be really proactive on the mental wellness side, but quite frankly, they don't have time. And those aren't going to be covered by insurance either,
Right.
you know? And then coaching focuses more on the mental wellness side. So it's being proactive in supporting children in developing that healthy mindset, being proactive in developing their confidence and self-esteem, because confidence, self-esteem, resilience, these are all skills. And they're skills that can be developed. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think, well, confidence, either you're confident or you're not, or self-esteem, you either feel good about yourself or you don't. Not true. There's skills that can be developed, and we've had coaches help children all around the world build their confidence, build their self-esteem, bounce back from disappointments, and it's just so powerful. And both are very important for mental wellness for children. And if a child is struggling, we've got our counselors and therapists, thank goodness, who are available there to support them. And if we want to be more proactive in supporting our children in developing that healthy mindset and developing their mental fitness, mental fitness is just as important, if not more important, than physical fitness, because it's really going to help us even with our physical fitness and help us navigate life.
Yeah, I took a training session 2 years ago, and um, the whole thing was about mental fitness. And the first day I was sitting online taking the class, and I'm thinking, yeah, my brain's not going to get this. Nah, yeah, I'll go do exercises. I'll go ride my bike. I'll go take a walk. And I got through the first session, and I thought, why am I being so negative? If my brain isn't healthy, I can't go take that walk. I can't ride the bike. I can't make the right choices of what foods to eat. So the following week, I had done all my little homework assignments. Following week, I got online, and you couldn't shut me up because I was excited. I could feel my brain getting healthier. Um, and it's hard to explain to people because if we haven't experienced it and if we're not open to experiencing it,
Yeah.
we're not going to get well. So how can people find you and follow you and get your books and become part of this community?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I invite people to go to our main website. It's adventuresinwisdom.com. And if someone's interested in just exploring what life coaching for kids with stories is all about, they can get a free coaching story on helping children develop the skill of positive self-talk right there on the website. Up at the top, there's a tab that says free story. If someone is a parent and they're looking at how can I support my children? How can I connect with a coach? We have a tab there for parents, and it's also where they can find out more information about this book. We have it on Amazon. It's super duper cheap. We keep it cheap because we want people to get it, and it's easy. It's also quick, easy to read. We've had people read it on the plane. One woman read it in the line to vote because we know parents are busy. So we want to get them the core information that they can quickly get through as well. And if someone's interested in exploring becoming a life coach for kids, we have a tab there called Be a Coach. And that's where you can find out more information, just how our program works and whether or not we might be the right fit for you.
I love it. That is so wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you had the time to meet with me today. Um, we're going to have all your information in the show notes. So those of you listening, if you said, hey, I missed what she said, don't worry about it. Go back to the show notes. Worst case scenario, in the show notes, you have our email address as well here at New Cleveland Radio. I will then put you in touch. And I'm going out to your website later today so that I can share your information wildly.
Thank you, Karen.
So, thank you so much for joining me. Have a
Wonderful
good
being
day.
here. Thank you.